What would you do if your government became evil? And I'm not talking about simple government corruption. We have that already. And I'm also not talking about a government that is inefficient. We got that too. No, I mean a government that was truly evil. Would you listen to those who told you to calm down? It's not that big a deal. Or maybe you'd be part of a group that goes along to get along as long as you weren't the target of that evil. Well, the question of what to do when the government becomes evil is exactly what many people faced in 1930s and 40s Germany, and that included pastors. The majority of German Protestant leadership either supported or accommodated the regime. Only a fraction openly resisted it. But understand this, most of those German pastors in the 1930s, they believed they were doing the right thing. They believed they were protecting their churches. They believed that compromise was the wise thing to do. And by the time they realized what was really happening, it was too late. But one man refused to compromise his values. He refused to stay silent in the face of pure evil. His name was Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He stood for something when it cost everything. What he did will force you to examine your own convictions. And Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a German pastor and theologian. He was brilliant and highly educated. And he was an outspoken critic of the evil that had taken hold in Germany. He could have stayed in the university system, and he could have kept preaching safe sermons. And he could have kept his mouth shut and his head down. But he didn't. Instead, when Hitler rose to power in 1933, Bonhoeffer immediately recognized what many others refused to see. This was not just about politics, it was an idolatry. The Nazi regime attempted to take control of the German church, twisting Christianity into a tool of the state. And many pastors, they complied. Bonhoeffer confronted. Just 2 days after Adolf Hitler became chancellor in 1933, Dietrich Bonhoeffer went on the radio. And he warned Germany about the danger of a leader becoming a false idol. He said when a leader becomes a misleader, he becomes destructive. And not surprisingly, that broadcast was cut off in mid-sentence. And that was just day one. And while most men were still celebrating, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was already resisting. And when the Nazi regime tried to remove Christians of Jewish background from the church leadership, Bonhoeffer didn't stay neutral. He said the church must not only bandage the victims under the wheel of injustice, it must jam a spoke into the wheel itself. That's not safe theology, that's confrontation. And then he helped form the Confessing Church, a group of pastors who refused to allow Hitler to redefine Christianity. And he trained young pastors underground, knowing full well that the state was watching. And in 1939, Hitler had consolidated power and war was looming. And Bonhoeffer was already under suspicion for resistance activity. So his friends arranged for him to return to the U.S. and take a teaching position at Union Seminary, where he had been a student just 8 years prior. This time, he didn't go to America to learn, he went there to be safe. He arrived in June 1939, and within weeks, he knew he had made a mistake. He wrote that he would have no right to participate in the reconstruction of Christian life in Germany after the war if he did not share in the suffering of his people during it. So in July of 1939, he returned to Germany before war had officially broken out. Now, he could have stayed in the U.S. and been safe. In fact, friends in Germany urged him to do so. Instead, Bonhoeffer chose risk over safety. He believed a shepherd belongs with the flock. And he wrote, quote, "I must live through the difficult period of our national history with the Christian people of Germany," end quote. And he certainly knew what was coming, but he went back anyway. And eventually his resistance moved beyond just words. Through family connections and military intelligence, Bonhoeffer became involved in a conspiracy to remove Hitler from power. A pastor involved in resistance work. He was carrying messages under the cover of church work, knowing every meeting could be his last. and he absolutely knew the risk. He once wrote, "When Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die." And he meant it. When Christ called his disciples to follow him, he meant follow him in every way, even to the cross. And all Christians are called to do the same. And Bonhoeffer knew this, and he accepted it. Not only accepted it, but he lived it out. And in 1943, the Nazis had had enough of Bonhoeffer, and they arrested him. He spent 2 years in prison, and in April 1945, just weeks before the war ended, he was executed by hanging. He was just 39 years old. A prison doctor later said he had never seen a man die with such calm conviction. Now, that's not personality and it's not bravado. That's conviction forged long before the test came. Dietrich Bonhoeffer didn't just talk a good game. When it came time to put his money where his mouth was, he didn't hesitate. Now, here's the real question. Why was he able to stand firm when so many others folded? Well, because his convictions were built before the pressure came. He didn't wait for crisis to decide what he believed. He had already decided. And Dietrich Bonhoeffer knew what he believed and why, and without wavering, he stood firm on them, even to the point of death. A crisis doesn't elevate a man, it measures him. You see, Dietrich Bonhoeffer had anchored himself spiritually, intellectually, and morally. So when evil demanded compromise, he didn't hesitate. He stood tall. Now let's bring this home. You may never face a dictator, but you will face pressure. Pressure to stay silent when truth costs you something. Pressure to go along with whatever everyone else is doing. Pressure to keep your faith private. Pressure to compromise in small ways that grow into large ones. See, conviction isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in quiet obedience. It's built in discipline. It's built when no one else is watching. You see, Bonhoeffer didn't suddenly decide to become courageous in prison. He became courageous in study, in prayer, in daily faithfulness, in small acts of resistance. And that's how fortitude is formed. In Luke 9:23, Jesus says, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." Dietrich Bonhoeffer took that literally. For the believer watching this, this is the call: to follow Christ even when it costs you. For the man who isn't sure what he believes, ask yourself this: what is your life anchored to? Because when the storm hits, whatever you're anchored to will be exposed. And here's the challenge: build convictions before life tests you. Ask yourself, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? And what would it take for me to compromise? And if what you believe is true, and you truly believe it, there should be nothing in this world that will make you compromise. And if you're willing to compromise, maybe you don't really believe what you believe. Or maybe you believe in something that might not be true. But if you truly believe in something bigger than yourself, then live it out daily, even if it's hard, even if it's uncomfortable at times. Because comfort will not prepare you. Convenience will not prepare you. Only conviction will. And when your moment comes, and I promise you it will, you will either stand or you will fold. Bonhoeffer stood. The question is, will you? My name is Dennis Gill, and this is the Faith and Fortitude Project. I want to thank you very much for staying till the end. If you got something out of this, please consider liking and subscribing and passing this on to someone you think might need it. And remember this: faith first, fortitude always. Now let's get after it.